Hello, my name is Jessica Blyler, and here's my presentation of my research. To start off, like I said, my name is Jessica. I am in the STEM education concentration of the master's program in assessment, curriculum, and teaching. I currently teach in the Carlisle area school district. I teach at Crestview Elementary, and I'm in first grade this year. Previously, I've taught in third grade, and I also taught in the Harrisburg area school district. The purpose of my action research, I was very interested in learning if flexible ability groupings in math class, if they would positively impact student achievement. I've noticed that within my classes, there is always such a wide range of abilities in math. So I can have, for example, in first grade, some students still making sense of numbers, and then I have other students who are beginning to understand multiplication. So the range of abilities is so large that it's very hard to do whole group lessons and meet the needs of all my students. I really have been thinking about what can I do better to meet the needs of all of my students. And that's kind of what led me into my research question of how do flexible ability groups based on student achievement data impact students' mathematics growth? So I'm really big into using data that I have to create these groups. So that's kind of where these flexible ability groupings come out of. So just to give you a little bit of background, a couple of the literature that I have looked at, the first one by Kraft and Bender, they found that flexible ability groups using a guided math approach improved student achievement in the lower achieving first grade students that they worked with. They did use an hour and 15-minute block for their rotations of those ability groupings. And then McKean, she investigated the impact of ability groupings through the grades 1 through 4. She did not find any significant impact on student achievement, which was very interesting to read about, but it also had me wondering kind of like why. And one of the things that she mentioned in her research as a limitation is that she did not examine the extent to which the flexible ability groupings were implemented. So that could have been a factor on the impact on the student achievement. The next one that I looked at was done in 2013, and they investigated the effects of school-wide cluster groupings and within class ability groupings on the academic achievement. So they kind of looked at both there, and they found that the positive impact may take more than a year to present positive effects on student achievement. So they kind of noticed effects after the fact and not, let's say, during the intervention per se. So that one kind of had a little bit of interest just with seeing, I could do this research now, but will I be able to see effects of the ability groupings in the present? And the last one examined within class groupings for mathematics in 6 classes in elementary school. This study showed that the mathematics ability groupings did not significantly affect students' self-concept when mathematics ability is accounted for. This one I liked to really look at because I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to put any of my students at risk for being affected their self-concept or their self-worth while in these ability groupings. So this research kind of helped me look at the fact that they did not see that it affected students at all. Going into the design of my action research, my school uses the curriculum Everyday Math. So we were on Unit 3, and I have about 65 minutes for math each day. This is at the very end of our day. Each period was structured very specifically. So we started with a 5-minute warm-up, which came from the Everyday Math unit. Then we went into a 15-minute whole group lesson. Everyday math is a spiraling curriculum, which means topics are hit on more than once. So it kind of jumps from topic to topic. Every time you see the topic again, the complexity increases. And then it also kind of hits on previous learned skills and kind of reviews them as well. So the 15-minute whole group lesson was based on that Unit 3. And then we went into 3 15-minute rotations. So I had, with my 23 students in my class, I had 5 flexible ability groupings, and I met with 3 each day. I met with my lowest achieving group daily, and then the other 4 groups I rotated every other day. The data that I collected, I used a pre and post test. So we tested the kids before we started the Unit 3, and then the same test was given at the end of Unit 3. I also used exit tickets at the end of every lesson to kind of move students through the groups fluidly if they had mastered a skill or if there was a different skill they were lacking in more. And then I also took attendance records because I thought it was important to take note if, if a student wasn't there 5 of the 13 days, did that have an impact? Or could that have an impact on if he or she improved or not? So some of my findings. So this first is the pre-test versus the post-test outcomes. So 21 out of my 23 students showed overall growth from the pre-test to the post-test. So overall, most students improved other than 2 on the overall growth. So out of 15 total points on the test. And then the next chart I have here, it's just a snippet. It's only 10 students of the 23. The graph was just too big and it was really hard to read, so I figured I'd just snip the first 10 students. Throughout the course of the action research, I had moved 7 different students between the groups. This was based on the exit ticket data. So if I noticed maybe a specific student understood subtraction, they were moved from the group working on subtraction into something else they might need. This data showed right here in this table that the majority of my students improved their scores on the specific skills that they had been instruction on in their flexible ability grouping. So the first score before the slash is the score on the pretest, and then the score after is the score on the post-test. And then at the top are the very specific items or concepts on the pre and post-test. So most students with what they were working on in their flexible ability groupings improved. Next, I have a number formation chart. So what that means is, can they write a 9 the correct way without writing it backwards? Instead, if they wanted to write 25, did they write 2-5 or did they put 5-2? So just forming their numbers correctly in first grade. 15 out of the 23 students improved the amount of numbers they formed correctly. 5 of the 23 students correctly formed 32 of the 32 numbers correctly on both tests. So 5 of the students, formed all of the numbers correctly the first time and the last time. So they didn't improve, but they actually didn't have room to improve. And then 3 of the 23 students did not improve that score. So this wasn't really something we were working on in any of our flexible ability groupings, but it was something that I found important. That given that individualized time in a small group, we were able to directly work on number formation as it came up in the skill we were working on. And lastly, my conclusion. So part of my action plan, I will continue to differentiate instruction based on student data and needs. I think I was able to prove that it was helpful for students of all ability levels. The structure of my mathematics class period allowed me to maximize the instructional time and meet with as many students as possible in that 65-minute period. I know that is something like we really, as a grade level at my school, struggle on, is the amount of things we need to compile into that 65-minute. And using this structured ability group format, I was able to do that. I will rotate every group equally in the amount of time they meet with me in their flexible ability grouping. So the data did not show that my lowest achieving students that met with me every day, that they significantly gained their student achievement did not improve more because they met with me every day. So I plan on just rotating every group equally instead. And I would like to do further research to determine if the length of time spent on one skill in a flexible ability group affects the student's overall understanding of the mathematical concepts in that unit. So like I said, I had 7 students move groups, but that means that the majority of students stayed in the same group the whole length of the action research. So I'd like to see if that has any effect. This intervention will be beneficial to other first grade teachers in my district because it combines the everyday math curriculum with a structure that is both academically beneficial and time efficient. Thank you so much.